Today we have the collaboration of 4 organizations, the Michigan Minority Supplier Development Council, along with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, the Asian Pacific Chamber of Commerce, and the Black Chamber of Commerce, all coming together for an opportunity to speak about opportunities in the city of Southfield and Oakland County regarding small businesses, minority-owned businesses. It provides the opportunity for everyone to get on the same page as far as learning all the ins and outs and the important attributes of growing your business and becoming an integral part in the business opportunities that exist in Oakland County. Well, Southfield is centrally located, and it's a mecca in the middle of Oakland County. And between Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb County, it kind of sits in the middle of everything that's going on. So it's a very strategic location for us to actually hold this event. Well, there's several opportunities. As I mentioned, there are the Asian, the Black, and Hispanic chambers, which all have memberships of their own. But the Michigan Minority Supplier Development Council, where you can go and find out information about becoming a member and becoming part of this movement right now. This is a great opportunity, and it's something that is really vital to the the building and rebuilding of the Michigan economy. Small businesses, as you know, are a cornerstone for what we do as far as business and growing the economy, not just in Oakland, Wayne, and Macomb County, but in the entire state of Michigan. So we know that this is a vital component. It's something that needs to be, investigated and followed up upon for us to continue to grow our businesses.
Minority businesses are growing because the minority demographic is growing at a rapid rate. The Michigan demographic for Hispanics are the largest right now. The Asian population here in the Michigan area has grown 35% since the last census came out in 2010. So obviously in year 2020, the minority will become the majority, so we all need to get together and learn how to collaborate because there's access to a lot of opportunities. There's obviously opportunity to grow and be your own entrepreneur. There's a lot of need for new businesses and companies to be innovative, so that's why we put these yearly events so that we can teach what's the trends for our business owners. Southfield is very conveniently located, so it has access to very many highways. In addition, it's very diverse in its silos. So we have LTU, we have Denso, so tier 1s. We have other tier 1s in the neighborhood. So it's a good opportunity for people, especially when we're in Motor City, to really do business with Southfield because it's conveniently located, has a lot of tier 1s, automotives, and other companies that we can promote. In addition, from a cultural perspective, there's a lot of good cuisine. Speaking from the Asian community, we have New Soul Garden, who's actually going to be demonstrating at the Sushi Salsa and Soul reception how great their food is. So we wanted to, for this event, reach out to the local Southfield restaurants to showcase what they have to offer so that not just for here tonight or today, we want everyday people to say, I'm going to go grab lunch at New Soul Garden. So
it's a great event. We're definitely looking forward so that our members can get to know more about themselves and among themselves, and also to increase the B2B opportunities among them. The combined group is contributing annually over $26 billion with a B to Michigan's economy. Many of them, their business grow nationwide and also globally. In addition to that, they also hire thousands of people. So you got to think about one thing. When you have companies that have such a large scale, and then you also have companies that are small, that are starting up, by doing this kind of event that we can develop the business-to-business opportunity among his minorities, you are increasing also opportunities for the small business to deal with those that can inspire them eventually to become like them, to the large business, right? So all that money now is going to stay here, is going to continue to empower our own communities, because one thing that we have noticed is that ethnic business, they tend to hire also ethnic people. What it does is that it supports your own community and makes it stronger. And that's what we believe by going to this source of networking. That not only is it friendly, but it's also going to be very empowering. We truly feel that it's going to have a very deep impact in Michigan economy overall, but definitely in our communities. Southfield, or the city of Southfield in general, is a very important place for any minority business to consider, because just look at it geographically speaking, metro area. Southfield is actually the downtown of the entire metro area. It's right in the center, the crossroad with the major highways, also the very large businesses that are around here give you, at least from a logistical point of view, access. Easy for your customers to come to you and easy for you to go to your customers, which is very important here in Michigan. The other thing is that it's a city that is willing to work with you. It's also part of the Oakland County, and with the Oakland County one-stop shop, it does facilitate that you can open shop very quickly. They have a very strong economic development team through Irene Spanos, which is working great. So I think it has, not only as a city, but also the county that support the city. I think they have a very strong value proposition, in addition to perhaps many developments that are coming out now, as far as real estate and shopping centers. So I think it's the right place for different types of business to come in and set up shop.
Just getting the opportunity to get their foot in the door, to talk to those procurement directors, is a task in itself. So an event like this gives them that opportunity, again, to have that face-to-face, one-on-one opportunity that's leveling the playing field so that they can get their foot in the door. So that's one thing. The second thing is it gives them an opportunity to network with other minority suppliers and vendors. So sometimes that's a way to get their foot in the door again, as well, to be able to go in and work with another supplier or another company to achieve that business that they're after. I think there are tons of opportunities here in Southfield. Being a minority business myself and having had the opportunity to get quite a bit of business here, I see the opportunity daily. So I think being able to step away from the clutter that might be happening in, say, big city, big downtown, to be able to get away from that clutter and really be able to stand out, I think Southfield really offers that opportunity to do that.
Ladies and gentlemen, the City of Southfield, the Michigan Majority Coalition, and Denso International America welcomes you to the Southfield Pavilion in the center of it all for the second annual Michigan Minority Business Week, the State of Minority Business Forum. Please join me in welcoming our MC for today, Ms. Karen Dumas.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for being here and for being on time. It's my pleasure to serve as your Mistress of Ceremonies to help kick off today's State of Minority Business panel discussion, collaborating to create new economic opportunities. This is one of many events and activities taking place across the state to recognize the second annual Michigan Minority Business Week. The partners and the sponsors of today's events continue to bring you the information, the events, and the decision makers that matter to your business and the bottom line. I want to start the program by introducing the Senior Vice President of Industry and Government Affairs of DENSCO and APAC board member, Terry Helgelson.
Thank you, Karen. Good afternoon and welcome, everybody.
Good afternoon.
As from Denso, we are proud to be the presenting sponsor of today's event. And we're also glad that today's event's in Southfield. Southfield is the home to Denso's North American headquarters and technical center, where we have approximately 1,100 employees. Denso has had a presence in Southfield since 1967, and Southfield has been a great partner over the past 48 years. We have seen a lot of changes and growth over that time, and I'd like to share some of the information with you. Denso is a major global one-tier automotive supplier with global sales of $37 billion in 2005. We provide systems and products in powertrain, climate control, body electronics, driving control, and safety to both the automotive and the heavy-duty and off-road segments. Our goal is to bring greener and safer driving technology to the market. In the non-automotive area, we produce portable AC and heat pumps, industrial robots, and ADC, or data capture systems. These are the handheld terminals and scanners. In fact, a little bit of trivia, we invented the QR code in 1993. We are committed to Michigan and our local community and diversity. In North America, Denso has 32 facilities, 29 in the United States, in 13 different states. And last year, we had sales of $8.1 billion and over 22,000 associates. And we have 5,800 associates in Michigan, and like I mentioned before, 1,100 are in Southfield. Denso has invested over $1.2 $2 billion in Michigan over the last 12 years, and we have invested over $300 million in Southfield and $50 million in the last 3 years in Southfield. We started our supplier diversity program in 1993, and Denso's supplier diversity mission has 3 key points. We believe inclusion of diverse businesses within our supply base contributes to a long-term economic and social stability. We are committed to developing and nurturing diverse and global best competitive supply base. And we seek supplier partners who share our commitment to continuous improvement while providing value to our customers and society. We have purchased over $2.5 billion from minority and women-owned businesses since the inception of our program. And last year we purchased over $300 million and expect to increase that in 2015 to $326 million with 250 different suppliers. Every December we conduct an MBE event with APAC, and this year it'll be on December 3rd. The Michigan Minority Business Week this is the second year for that, and last year's theme was access to capital. This year we are focusing on the state of minority businesses. Our panel that you will be hearing today will help guide you on how to do business with many of the vendors that are here, including Denso. So thank you and have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Next, I'd like to introduce the Deputy Director of Oakland County Economic Development and Community Affairs, Dan Hunter.
Thank you. And so I get to follow Terry. How about if we change the name of Oakland County to Denso County?
Right.
I'll try to put that through. It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure to be here today. I talked to Brooks Patterson, who unfortunately could not, and we kind of joked the sushi, salsa, and soul. I can't believe Brooks passed that up. But he had another engagement, so it's my pleasure to welcome you. I do want to thank our hosts, the 4 chambers of commerce, 3 chambers, and the Michigan Supplier Development Council. This is great private sector. Our chambers are in action. And I also want to thank our other sponsors, most notably Denso, the City of Southfield, and the Southfield Chamber of Commerce. Denso, just to add on a little bit to what Terry was talking about, we couldn't be more pleased that this is their home for North America technical and research and development. In addition to all of those jobs that they provide, and that's what it's mostly about, they are incredible community supporters and partners. This event here today, another one that I've been watching for 15, 16 years. They've been great participants with the Friends of the Rouge River, donating volunteers to cleanup days and also financial support. So join me in giving another round of applause to Denso. Thank you. I went back and looked at our most recent census information in terms of minority businesses in Oakland County, and it's getting fairly dated. We're expecting some new figures at the end of this year. But the top 4 industry there's about 2,500 to 3,000 minority businesses in Oakland County. That's out of about 35,000, so a little less than 10%. And I'm anxious to see the new figures because I'm pretty sure that has grown in the last 5 years. But the top 4 industry segments are number 1, healthcare and social assistance, almost 750 companies. Number 2, professional, scientific, and technical, nearly 500. 3, accommodation and food services, and 4, retail trade. Now, if we look at it by payroll, the number 1 is the 5th sector, and that's management of companies and enterprises. And every year, those companies generate a $3 billion payroll. That's B as in billion. And then the second is the professional, scientific, and technical, and they generate $500 million per year. Now, my job is economic development. That's a lot of what Brooks does. Those numbers are economic development. If we step back and look at employment growth, what we've seen the last 4 to 5 years has been incredible. In the year 2009, Oakland County lost 60,000 jobs. But since then, we've gained about 80,000, and our projection is for the next 3 years to gain another 50,000. So we have climbed out of the hole, but we're still not back to where we were at our high point around the year 2000. At the year 2000, the county unemployment rate was 1.5%. Now, to me, that's economic development as well. And then if we come much closer, we don't have to look far to see some incredible economic activity from where I stand and you sit. Last week, I was joined by a number of folks here in the room, along with Brooks Patterson, BASF, $20 million technical center, right there at Telegraph and 696. Right next door, the redevelopment of the old Holiday Inn. It's not coming down. It's being saved and recast, which is incredible. The old DTE, Customer Service Center, had many, many meetings in there with their economic development staff. That is being recast, a $30–40 million development by Dürr, a German paint systems manufacturer. The list goes on and on. Hello World, Covissant, all here in Southfield. And that's for all of our benefit and all potentially customers of ours. So with that, I will close. Oakland County is really pleased to help sponsor this event today. And we will have someone here from our purchasing department to answer questions about opportunities with Oakland County. And I will be here most of the afternoon. So thank you, event organizers, and I look forward to seeing you. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to invite the person who has had the privilege of leading this city as mayor for the second time around. Please welcome the Honorable Mayor of the City of Southfield, Donald Fracassi.
Thank you very much, and welcome to the City of Southfield. Let me turn this thing off. I'm sorry if I'm a little late. I was coming from Ann Arbor, and there was a big accident at 275, and I got really concerned then because it said that some Channel 4 was here waiting for me, and you were all waiting for me, and I kept telling the police to get out of the way, and it didn't work. And I give you the good news. The good news that all the channels are here to tell us, or tell the public, and all of us who are listening, that City of Southfield now owns Northland. And it's an exciting, exciting day. We all know Northland of what it used to be. It was synonymous with the City of Southfield. When you said Northland, you knew you were in Southfield. And so now that it's in our hands, we're going to make sure that it comes back after we clear the place out. We're going to make sure that it represents the city and continues to represent the city. I'd like to introduce a couple of people who are here. James Ralph here, he's chair of the Downtown Development Authority. James, do you want to stand up or no? Can you make it? Help him up, Al. We have Al Sivas here. He's the executive director of the DDA. And Shelley Freeman is back there. She's our economic development gal. Next to her is our council president, Sylvia Jordan. And way over here, I don't know, in left field, right field, is Myron Frazier, city councilman. I didn't know what I was getting into. What was it called again? It was called Sushi, Salsa, Soul Reception. When are we getting to that? What is that? What is that? I couldn't figure out what that was. I know what minority business is, though. And we in Southfield are proud of the diversity that we have. You know, when the banner that sits in behind the council in our chambers, you know, is an all-America city. And way back, when we were changing, people were leaving Detroit, moving to Southfield, we made sure that we were going to continue to be a very proud city, a diverse community, and we got that award. It was a national award that we are All-America City because our programs in diversity. And we're very, very proud of that, and we have never looked back after that. And the thing that I want to impress, I have some notes over here, but I'm not going to read them. The thing that I really want to impress on the people who are here and the business people who are here is that we want our minority business people to do business in Southfield.
Absolutely.
Whatever it takes, advertising, Shelley hoofing it a little more, Al, Ralph, Myron, and myself, we aim to get our minority businesses into the purchasing room and try to get them to bid on these jobs in Southfield, own jobs, own businesses in Southfield. We want to encourage it, and we want to make sure that we help you along. It's very, very important to us. The other thing is that sometime when you get in a little group, one of the things that I know that has hurt the minority business people, especially the real small ones, is that when they want to do jobs, most of the jobs require a bonding. And they do not have the ability to get bonded. But if they come together and whoever is working in trying to get the minority businesses up front and getting the jobs is to assist the smaller ones to come together somehow and to get bidding on these jobs and helping them get bonding for these jobs. Because there are a lot of jobs, a lot of business, a lot of employment. Dan mentioned what Southfield is going through right now. It is the biggest year that we've ever had, I believe, in our history. We have more employees, people coming into Southfield. Dan mentioned some. We got Elreen Klinger. We got Hello World, BASF, Dürr Corporation. I mean, it just goes on and on. And we even got Beaumont executives in the town center. So the thing that I really want to leave you with is I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're working all together. I think that the purpose of it really should be is that let's see how we can together get minority business people getting the jobs, getting employed, because we want to help you in this community. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And the city of Southfield, I think, has always been known for its inclusiveness and diversity, and I was asked to share this information about the upcoming International Festival here in the Southfield Pavilion on October 10th and the 11th. If you've never been, it's a phenomenal family-oriented event. If you don't have any kids, you can come alone. Maybe you'll meet somebody and start a family later on. But that's another story. But there are tickets available, so make sure you stop by the booths and come. So now, to kick off our discussion, we are privileged to have someone who does not need an introduction. You see him every Sunday on Spotlight on the News on WXYZ TV 7. He is the editorial and public affairs director for that station. Please welcome none other than Mr. Chuck Stokes.
Thank you and good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Everybody had their lunch? Okay. Then don't fall asleep on me now.
They say for the sushi, soul, and salsa.
That's right, with the sushi and the soul and the salsa. But thank you so much, Karen. Good friend. I've known, I'm not going to say how long because that'll date both of us. But I met her when I first got to town, and good Lord, I've been in this town since 1981 now. And you know, it's funny when Mayor Fracassi came up, when we moved to Southfield in 1981, and when I moved in 1981, he was the mayor. And now we're in 2015, and he's the mayor again. So Don Fracassi has been around politics in this city for a long, long time, and certainly is part of the fabric of this city, which I had the great pleasure of living in with my family for 16 years, just right up Twickenham and Tavistock Trail, and we had some wonderful moments there and a lot of fun with the kids. And then we moved a little further north, and so we're still in Oakland County. And then, of course, I work right around the corner at Channel 7, which has been a part of the fabric of this city for a long, long time. So I'm Southfield, not born, but Southfield bred, I guess you would say. We have a great panel today. Let me tell you how this will work. I'm going to ask some questions. First thing I'm going to do is have each one of them say a little something about themselves, not about their organization, but about themselves. We'll talk a lot about their organization and what they do on a day-to-day basis. And then I'm going to ask some questions of them. And then I'm going to open it up to all of you to ask questions that you want. I understand that as you came in, you filled out some cards, and that those cards will be circulated to me at some point, and I'll ask your question. If you didn't get a chance to fill out what your question is, just raise your hand, and I'm sure someone will be happy to get you a 3x5 card. Monique's right here, right down in front, so you can't say that that you didn't know who was taking your cards, and she'll be happy to do that. And what I want this to be is sort of like the spotlight show that I do, and that's just a conversation, a discussion. Hopefully something that will be informative for all of you. How many of you are suppliers? Okay, so that's a pretty good number. That's good. So they will be speaking to people who need the information that hopefully you will be seeking. Let me introduce our panel, and I'm going to go down the line and try not to screw up everybody's name. Camilo Suero, did I do it right?
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up, okay, well, I made that one. So with the Michigan Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, seated next to him is Von Nguyen. Get that right? Okay. See, after I get through all this, then I'm gonna only call them by their first names from here on out, so if we make one pass, right, then we're good. Von Nguyen is with Director of the Asian Pacific American Chamber of Commerce. And of course, next to her is Michelle Soare Robinson? Soare. Okay, good. And she is relatively new, I won't say brand new, because she's been here since January, President and CEO of the Michigan Minority Supplier Development Council. I'll show how old I am. And I was running around the house, and I said, MNBDC. My wife said, it's not MNBDC anymore. And I said, I know it too. Let's get the supplier in there. So that dates me, but we will call it by its current and proper name. And then, of course, Ken Harris is President and CEO of the Michigan Black Chamber of Commerce. What I want them to do is, I think I saw Sylvia Jordan in here a few minutes ago. You know, if you're a politician and you're running for an office, you know that you usually have about the amount of time that you're standing at a traffic light.
That's right.
To tell somebody about yourself, and if you can't do it in that amount of time before that light goes from red to green, then you've blown it. Or if you're going up on an elevator and somebody introduces themselves, you have about the amount of time that it takes from getting from that first level up to whatever floor you're going. So I want the panel to do the same thing. You got about a minute, and if you get longer than a minute, I'm going to stop you, to tell me just a little bit about yourself, not your organization, about yourself, who you are and how you got to where you are. I'm going to start with you, Camilo.
Okay, well, Camilo Suero, I consider myself a true full-blooded Caribbean, so check this out. Mother Cuban, dad Dominican, and I was born in Puerto Rico. Wow. However, I also consider myself a true product of Detroit for two reasons. Number one, my parents, they met and they got married at Holy Redeemer Church, Southwest Detroit, and I am a true Detroit Tigers fan. Even the Dominican team was the Tigres, which is the same. So that's me, and I love what I do and working for the Hispanic community and the overall minority community. Thank you.
Excellent, very good. And he met the time limit too. Okay, Vaughn.
I
I'm Vaughn Nguyen, and I'm the executive director of APEC, but most people know me as singing national anthems, so most of you have seen me around town. That is my, I guess, night job, but maybe it should be my second job. But my passion is connecting people, and I think I got a wonderful opportunity to lead this organization 2 years ago. I can't believe it's been 2 years, but before that, my background was in digital marketing. I'm a native Texan, so you might hear a drawl coming out, especially around the sushi, salsa, and soul time with some food in me. But I am very happy to be here, happy to lead this organization, happy to provide value for my constituents and my corporate sponsors.
Very good. Thank you, Vaughn. Michelle.
Thank you. Michelle Suri Robinson. I'm actually an attorney by education and training and spent 20 plus years on the corporate side. So my perspective is a bit different. I bring the legal aspect, but I was also a buyer and also ran supplier diversity programs. So I'm excited to enter into the winter season here in Detroit and would only do that.
Well, we better get you checked out right now.
You have to hear the second part of that, but it's only because I am quite passionate about the work that we do and excited to be able to do that in the state of Michigan. I think now is a prime time, and I'm excited about the certified minority business owners that we have here within the state, but also the major corporations that support them, so thank you.
Very good. Ken Harris.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to see you all, and thank you for coming out. Most importantly, I think on a lighter note, I do a lot of landscaping, so if you drive around town here in the city of Southfield and the edges are right, that's me. It just doesn't have a sign on it. So with that being said, I support entrepreneurs. I think entrepreneurs are absolutely critical to the economic fabric of society, but most importantly, just a little short historical note, I used to serve as the Chief of Staff and Executive Assistant to the former mayor and now Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence, so I'm very well greeted here in the city of Southfield. I love this city, but most importantly, this is a wonderful opportunity to talk about diversity, and I think this city has been a shining and beacon light for that. And most importantly, I represent an awesome organization full of entrepreneurs out of Black Enterprise Magazine's Top 100. I get a chance to represent 26 of those companies here in the state of Michigan. So I'm blessed and thankful, and also the corporations that support those organizations and help them be successful. So it's a pleasure to be here this evening.
Excellent. Very good. Oftentimes when you get around business people, and particularly organizations that are designed to help promote business, they are very fond these days of telling me, especially as a journalist, that small and medium-sized businesses are the backbone of America. And even if they're trying to get bigger so that they become a very large company, that they still want to, in some form or another, deal with the very big companies. So they're all sort of intertwined. But at the very basic beginning of all of that and sort of the end of all of that is relationship building. Have each one of you talk a little bit from your own perspective about the importance of building relationships and what is the best way to build a relationship that becomes profitable for you and the supplier.
I'll take it. I think, first of all, you have to pack it with a lot of patience. And if there's one thing that I see many minority business owners in particular getting very frustrated about is the fact that very rarely is this an immediate marriage. It's not a Kim Kardashian style relationship here. This is a long courtship. And I see people getting very frustrated because they feel like, well, I've attended these events, I've paid my dues, and I'm a member of this chamber, I'm a member of the MMSDC, and I still don't have contracts. And you do business with those with whom you have a relationship. Those relationships have to be steeped in trust. If you're a buyer, you are taking a risk every time you look at a new supplier.
That's right.
I don't care what they look like. I don't care what the industry is. You are taking a risk. So you have to take the time to build that relationship, not get frustrated, but also make sure you're targeting the right people. So if anything, if I had to say it in one word, it's patience. Pack the patience. Know that you are looking at the right targets, and then do your absolute best to continue to cultivate, not get frustrated, because contracts typically come after you've built that foundation.
Okay, very good. Anybody else want to take a stab at that, how you build relationships?
Absolutely. I think this is the core of what we do. And my feedback on that one, and secondly, what you're saying, is also about value. We're all here for business, either representing a company or our own company. So yes, we in time become friends, but ultimately it's about a company. So what kind of value proposition are you placing that I should trust you to do business with you?
That's right.
I need to know you. It's not just what you do. We're here for the long run, as you said. So that's why we need to be patient, but more importantly, we gotta deliver the value proposition. Why should I wanna do business with you? Because I'm not here for the friendship. It's all about the bottom line. So that's something that we gotta concentrate always when we develop those relationships, but then that I can also count on you no matter what. That is not just an invoice. No, it's more that relationship, but ultimately it's about value.
All right, very good. Vaughn?
Sorry, I keep taking this away from you.
It's okay.
So patience and value. I would highly recommend a good follow-up. And there's a fine line between being incessantly calling every day to see where you're at a contract. It doesn't work that way if you keep bothering these buyers, but at the same time, no news of you following up at all is a bad thing. So there needs to be a fine line in understanding what are the expectations of that person you're speaking with, and understanding when is a good time to reach back out, and knowing the timeline for deadlines. So if you have all those three together, I think it would make a better relationship more robust and genuine.
Ken?
Absolutely. I mean, it's absolutely essential that networks are established. I think as advocacy organizations, our primary focus is to make sure that we set up the pipeline so that relationships can be built. I truly believe that your network is your net worth, but it goes a little further than that. It's even Stephen Covey's book, The Speed of Trust. And trust is built off of the ability to have integrity and excellence in quality service and on-time delivery. And so when you can represent companies that not only provide a commodity good or service and can deliver on time with high excellence, corporations allow that trust factor to be built, and more importantly, it's reciprocal. And that's how contacts become contracts. And so once we can take a company, and they're now doing business between 10 Mile and Evergreen, and they're operating in that 1 mile radius, now they can start to do business all throughout the state, all throughout the region, and organizations now like MMSDC can certify you where you can become global entities like Eric Hardy with W3R. Who's a Southfield company, by the way.
Talk specifically, because in looking at the literature for all of you, you talk about some of the different events that you have. What kind of events and social events do you put on that help individuals who already have their business try to connect, particularly with Fortune 500 companies?
I can jump on that one. So, and I like what you said at the end about connecting everyone with Fortune 500, because all four of us here can tell you something. Not everyone is set up to participate with Fortune 500. So understanding that, does events like this one, how can we also leverage the B2B? Because if you're not at that scale, but you're at the scale to go to work with a tier 2 or a tier 1 perhaps, rather than going to the OEM directly.
And for a second, explain, because I'm not sure everybody understands the difference between B2B and
business
B2C.
to business, yeah. Business to business,
Okay.
C2C, customer to customer. In this case, M2B with MB to MB. So keeping that in mind, our events will be, I can tell you the one that the Hispanic Chamber does is our production only matchmaker because we realize that the OEMs have a need for production only. And that's how we can add value, bringing all the HBEs. We also open it to other MBEs in general to come to that event. What happens there, you're bringing the core people, and then we can bring a selected group of non-production to that event that can also benefit. So we try to do strategic matchmakers that you can have the most value for your time and money that you're going to be there, and the most success following up to that.
Vaughn?
Our events are similar to everybody on this table, but what makes us drive forward every year is to do the mentor-mentee relationship. Because I do have people who are just starting out. They're learning the lay of the land of Michigan. I have a lot of Chinese, Taiwanese, and Indian companies coming over from abroad because of the wonderful state that we're in and the opportunity that is here. So I have to teach them from the ground up how to get started the right way. So our events are very international, East meets West. We're very broad, global, and we want to make sure that the sponsors and companies that are looking for qualified suppliers, that they know what the right steps are into getting their foot in the door. We talk about certification. Half of my constituents are not certified, and that's because they're not U.S. citizens at the moment, but once they get there, that time from when they just landed here to the fact that when they get to where they need to be in certifying themselves, that's a good time to be mentored. This is what we are providing value with the APA community. So that's the events we offer.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Michelle?
Now, Chuck, if I may, I'm going to kind of divert a bit from your question.
Okay.
Because I think part of the frustration comes from perhaps looking at the wrong target. I think most minority business owners that are in that level under $10 million probably shouldn't be targeting Fortune 500 companies directly. Depending on the category and the industry, your target is more than likely the tier 2, 3, 4 beyond that are selling directly to the companies that, let's face it, are the glitzy companies. Everyone wants to say that they are a direct supplier to Ford, to Denso, to General Motors, to Fiat Chrysler, to Toyota. And the reality is those companies are not your primary target. There is a lot of money to be made, and it's still green, if we sell MBE to MBE and begin to really flesh out that network effectively, if we look at government contracting and the opportunities that are there, but if we also start to say, instead of approaching a Reggie Humphrey from General Motors and saying, how do I get into GM? But Reggie, tell me about tier 2 and 3. Where are those opportunities in your organization, and how can you help me begin to build my base in a manner that makes me strong enough that if I don't get paid for 45 to 60 days, it's no big deal. And that's the reality. So my response is a little bit differently, or a different approach, simply because I think as a buyer, I've seen far too many companies try to target the Fortune 500 directly, and it's the wrong place to start.
Ken?
And I can also start by actually complimenting Michelle's statement and the fact that we're fortunate enough to have the largest minority supplier development council in the country. And with that fact, you can attend various events throughout the year. Why reinvent the wheel as advocacy organizations? And the reason why we're all here together, unified in a coalition and working together, is that so we can support that pipeline. And so at the end of the day, not all of our 79,000 African American firms here in the state of Michigan, 90% of those folk are between 1 and 5 employees. They're not ready to be certified yet, but it's my job as an organization, an advocacy group, to provide them with that startup infrastructure, how to do a business plan, legal services, accounting services, how to understand what networking means, and then more importantly, pipe them into events once they're ready. We certify them, and they can attend the Minority Procurement Conference, which is the largest in the country, and then we start that cycle. So it's absolutely critical, and because I have an infrastructure, we have chapters in Grand Rapids, Lansing, Pontiac, Flint, Southfield, Detroit, Ann Arbor, and Ypsilanti. It allows us to have a broad spread and connect with individuals that normally would not have a contact with an organization like this. So it's a team effort. And we truly believe teamwork makes the dream work, and that's how we're going to get people from A to Z with the least amount of gray hair and stress.
As I was running out the door this morning, I turned to my wife, who is a supplier, a small supplier, and so I said, so what is it you guys worry about? And she said, well, there are two things. She said, one is how do we improve customer service and how people can help us improve customer service.
Absolutely.
Because you're usually only as good as the last job you did. And two is something that I guess is important in all industries. How do we get paid faster? So have each of you speak to those two things, and what advice and help can your organizations do to individual suppliers to, one, make sure that they improve on their customer service or at least maintain the level that they're at, and two, everybody's always, they want work, and they want you to do the job, and then they usually want it yesterday, so you do it quickly, and then you wait forever to get paid sometime. How do you deal with that?
In terms of customer service, I think the number one thing I would say is always be a step ahead of your customers. That's your responsibility, to know what's happening within your industry, to always be on the cutting edge, but understanding their pain points. And one of the things I say to business owners often is, in today's age, there's no reason to not know everything that you need to know about your customer. Most of us can Google just about any customer that we're looking for and find out every pain point that they have. And our job as business owners then is to create solutions so that they don't have to stay up at night thinking about their pain points. So at the end of the day, that's customer service. If someone can walk into a corporate member, and I see several of ours sitting here in the audience, you would be very excited if they came to you and said, this is what I sell, but I've studied your company, and John, Delphi, Teresa, Comerica, I know these are issues, and I have a solution. That opens your ears, and that's what makes you say, let me get them to the correct buyer. The second part of that, there are just some realities of business, and at the end of the day, that's why I say you have to watch your targets, and be very specific about who you're targeting, because you have to know when you look at those customers, whether or not those payment terms are going to work within your business. And we used to have some programming where we would go in and we would work with companies and we would try to change payment terms, but all of that, like many other things that we used to enjoy pre-2008, went away. So the reality now is we just have to be smarter about our targets.
Anybody else? Vaughn?
So customer service is crucial, but in addition to knowing the pain points of each of these companies you go in, my suggestion would be figure out case studies, your successful case studies. If you go in and say, if you're pitching to Comerica and you would like to get in the door, if you have a case study that you've been successful with at another conglomerate, this would be a prime opportunity to demonstrate those. It shows them that it is worth their time to invest in you further. It gets your foot one more step ahead. So not just the pain points in Googling, that's great, that's a very good start, but making sure you have successful case studies. So you're asking, Yvonne, what if I don't have a case study for that particular field or silo? Well, if you have another case study that is successful in a different realm, I would highly encourage you to use that platform and then translate it over to whatever industry you're speaking to, because there's a will, there's a way, and I think that's crucial for CSAT, as I call it.
Ken?
No, I'm fine.
You're right. Okay.
I just
Bill,
want to add
you wanna
something.
to this?
Yeah, absolutely. So taking both Michelle's and Vaughn's points here, then you got to use technology today. There's also something called social media, we all know, right? So if you have great success stories, you got to go be innovative and publicize that, because your customers, they're going to see that. So you have to invest money into that. You have to invest money into the Google Analytics to see, are people looking at your website and what is it that they're looking for? So you gotta go deeper than just your product. The game has changed for everybody, and you gotta be on the game or you're gonna be sitting on the bench.
Absolutely.
Or in the game. So one thing there's 2 points that we have as an advantage as minority business. Number one, we're small and we can move fast. That means we can adapt quickly to our customers' needs. But we definitely have to have a vision of looking always 2 steps ahead of our customer, but we have the tools to deliver. That's one. And then number 2 is we gotta engage on that social media and promote our stories. We have gone visiting to our HBEs, and it's amazing. I mean, some of them have wall-to-wall pack of patents. Nobody knows that. So we got to stop being humble, and we have to be proud of each one of our accomplishments. Each one of you, if I talk to you, I'm sure you have something very innovative that maybe you don't think it is innovative, like Vaughn said. You're not showing it to the world. And once you start doing that, believe me, you're going to have a lot of success. By the way, I'll give you my card so you can give me some percentage of this advice, so for the chamber.
Membership.
I'm going to pick up on, you just mentioned, Camilo, about social media and the importance of social media today.
Absolutely.
Vaughn, I know that's been a key part of your background. Expound upon that a little bit more, and if you're a supplier out there and you have not already embraced social media, or perhaps you've embraced it but you may not be doing it to the extent that you should or in the right way, what advice would you give?
There's so many ways I can go with this. So prior to coming to APAC, I worked at Ford on behalf of Ford, doing their Ford Fiesta movement. So I've done consulting for GM, FCA for the last 10 years before I came here, CSAT, which is customer service and social media. My best advice to any small business is start small. Don't think you can be on every platform out there. There's a number of them, and they keep coming every day. So if you think you're going to jump on the social media bandwagon, don't. Pick one where your constituents are. If you're General Motors, because I used to work, Twitter is your key, and then Facebook. That's what they focus their livelihood on when it comes to social. Second of all, once you've saturated that market, then you can think of another strategic plan to open up another platform. But don't try to take all of it at once. I know Chemical Maze has been very, very good at social. I know that stuff that we tweet out, they retweet or they favorite. That's just another way to quote-unquote brag without being, I guess, conceited. It's a confidence thing. There's a fine line between being humble and confident and not so much that. But you can see it by all the companies represented today. Pretty much, I know most of you have a Twitter or Facebook. Make sure that it's steady as well. I think if you start something, you should finish it or see it through. I see so many small businesses say, I'm going to start Twitter and Facebook, but then they kind of drop off after 2 months because I get busy, I'm out hustling, I don't have time, I don't have time to hire people. There's simple tools that you can actually do. If you can commit an hour a week, talk to me after this panel. I'll get you set up where you can actually do it and not set it and forget it. I think there was an infomercial back in the day. Set it and forget it. So you can do that, and that way.
About back in the day.
What?
Right.
What? So just talk to me about that afterwards if you'd like. But there's so many ways to market, promote, and build relationships online, and then move that offline into real relationships. It is possible.
And Ken, I'm gonna let you go, but just for clarification, if you're a small business and you don't have a website, are you dooming yourself to failure, or not necessarily?
Yes and no. It depends on your product and services. So it would take a consultant or somebody in that realm to really accurately get you where you want to be. Because I would hate to say put a blanket over all small businesses. Some might need a website, some might not. It just depends. And some might need social media and a website. Some might need one without the other. You got to sit down and think about your plan. What is your vision? What is your goal? And then build it.
And if you're small and just what you said, you find that you don't necessarily have time to keep up your own website, then there are people that you can hire that can do it for you.
Yeah, people that can do it.
And it's worth the investment?
It is. There's a lot of young professionals out there that would be willing to help you figure out your brand advocacy, and build that image into a positive image.
Okay, Ken.
Yeah, I was just going to say, especially in terms of the African American community, out of the 79,000 African American firms, 45% of them are between the ages of 18 and 30. And between that age group, a large percentage of them, there's a serious technological divide between business owners. And so we partner with Google, with our organization, for firms that are not necessarily competing at a high level, to give them a free website, domain name, free optimization, and search engine optimization so that they can have a presence. In my personal opinion, if you don't have a web presence and a social media presence, you're limited. And in some cases, you're not in business, because again, I think it was mentioned where people are constantly researching, they're constantly Googling. The first thing that they come to is your page. And just like the city of Southfield, if I want to do business with the city of Southfield, first thing I'm going to do is go to the website. And if I'm an African American or minority or woman-owned firm, I'm going to look and say, hey, is this city inviting to diverse businesses? And then most importantly, outside of just social media, your link has to mean something. And so if I go to your website and you actually have a nice banner and I click on the banner, but there's nothing behind the banner, then to me that's your brand as well. And so what is that process behind? Okay, great. And we know that City of Southfield is diverse. Now who's the procurement officer? And so when I go to the procurement officer, does that relationship spell what you put on the website? Was the city inviting to me? Did you have a list of opportunities? When I went to ask what the process was that process very simple? And so social media plays into your whole business landscape, and we got to get our firms there. We have to get them technologically sophisticated and close that divide.
Two more questions from me, and then I'm going to open it up and see what questions the audience has on their mind. Anybody can answer this question on the panel, but I'll start at least with Michelle and Vaughn, that you may have some particular insight. Anytime you hear about women and suppliers and what's the future, the name Andra Rush and so many others come right to the forefront. But as you look at the future, what do you see as the future for female suppliers, and what advice would you be giving to them?
I think that's a fabulous question. And quite frankly, women-owned businesses are one of the fastest growing segments. Minority women-owned businesses, one of the fastest growing segments. The difference is they typically have a much more in-depth issues when it comes to capital. Even more so than their male counterparts that might be within their ethnicity. So one of the things that you will see us doing, in fact, next year we will actually host a minority women business owner event. And please understand, I'm always going to be very candid, so don't think that MMSDC is an exclusive organization that does not want to help small suppliers. I think the beauty of the relationships that I've developed with Ken and Carmelo and Vaughn is that even though MMSDC may not see a business as a target for its corporate members, so you may not be of the size and scale to serve its corporate members, there are still multiple opportunities for you as a business owner, if you become a member of these chambers, to take advantage of the things that we offer at MMSDC. And for women suppliers, I see that as a prime opportunity. I am not a person that's selfish, so I also think women, depending on the industry that they're in, should consider NABO. They should consider WeBank. Again, depending on the industry that you're in, you have the ability to be that double minority. So you can claim your minority status as a true minority for ethnicity, but then you can also look at the diversity status that you get as a woman, and you should leverage both because you will find customers in both of those places.
Okay. Vaughn?
Exactly what Michelle says. There's not much more I can add to it except that APAC is proud to support SEED, and we are offering microloans for Asian women to start their businesses. A lot of questions I get is, well, where do I start? I have this great, brilliant idea, but I don't have any access to capital. Well, MMSDC as well as us, we have these microloan programs that can help you get to where you need to be for the first year and then guide you so that you can not only be successful but be sustainable. Personally, in another 5 to 10 years, I'd like to see more Asian-owned business women leaders out in Michigan. I know there's a lot of them, but again, going back to marketing, we don't talk about it. So the majority of the people in this room aren't aware. But it is a fast-growing population, and it does bring in a lot of receipts, but we don't hear about it because it's not in our nature to really tout about it. So as the ED here, I want to make sure that the women constituency under APAC is empowered so that they can do better and grow and sustain and be the next, I don't know, whatever, Andra Rush. So.
Very good. Ken?
Yep, and although I'm a male, I get a chance to be a feminist and a womanist today, and we're proud to announce that African
you clarified that.
clarified that, absolutely. There's a lot of things going on in the world. But with that being said, I am proud to announce that African American entrepreneurs are the fastest growing segment of entrepreneurs in the entire country, hence Forbes magazine April issue. And so it's an absolute focus of ours. And last month, Pamela Rogers hosted the Women of Color Entrepreneur Circle, sponsored by Comerica Bank. Over 400 women came out of color, and Vaughn was on our panel, and we're going to be working with Michelle and her endeavors. But the excitement, the expertise, and the connectability between women of color is on fire right now. And I just think this is the driving force to economies. So private sector, corporate members, government, municipalities, pay attention. I think you need to grab on to this robust economy because it's developing very fast. In Michigan, southeastern Michigan is the #1 ethnic entrepreneurial explosion in the country statistically. So pay attention to that, because women are going into business, and not just going into business, they understand it and they're growing it.
Okay. Thank you. All right, this is a question. I'm gonna have you turn it inward a little bit, and I'll use my own industry as an example. You know, there's a Black journalist organization, there's a Hispanic journalism organization, Asian, on down the line. They each have their own conventions, their own organizations. But some years ago, they realized, you know, there's some value in, instead of having these annual conventions every 5 years or so, they do a unity convention, and they all meet up under one roof. I know on a local level here, while circulation has dropped off at the Detroit News and the Detroit Free Press, and they went to, instead of publishing every single day and delivering it to your home, you know, you get it on what, Thursdays, Fridays, and Sundays now. But if you talk to the publisher of the Michigan Chronicle or any of the Jewish News or Arab American News, they'll tell you that they're growing. While the major dailies are not, which would suggest that there's value in marketing to your own, and people are doing business to your own and trusting the word that comes to your own. So how much are you all working together, and in what ways are you working together, and how much are you talking about future things that you can do so that someone from your organization, Michelle, may have an opportunity to meet someone from Camilo's organization, and perhaps they end up doing business together?
Absolutely. I'll tackle.
And whoever
So,
wants to do it.
I think first of all, anything that's affinity based, I identify with those who look like me, have a similar experience as mine, and there's nothing wrong with it. It does not mean that I can't also identify with others who are non-diverse, but let's face it, women like women. In fact, my husband always reminds me that we dress for each other, not for other men. So don't ask me what that looks like. Go ask another woman. But we feel better within our affinity groups, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think there's, in so many different aspects, and it would turn into another conversation if I really got into that, but in so many different aspects, we've almost made that a bad thing. And there's nothing wrong with that as long as we also have open arms to reach and learn about others. So having said that, I think we are doing a phenomenal job. Now, I am the new person on the scene, but within my first month, I had an opportunity to sit down with Ken, Carmelo, and Vaughn to talk about just that. I have no desire to reinvent the wheel. We know that as the Minority Supplier Development Council, we have a lot of power, a lot of resources, and my goal is to take those resources and be able to help all business owners. All of them should not become certified because they're not doing business at the level that will serve my corporate members. But I can, however, do things like take our Michigan Minority Procurement Conference, where we have a professional development day, and it's usually open only to our constituency. But what I did this year was we looked at, as a team, and said, how can we assist the chambers? So we had a $99 rate that would allow any member of the chambers to attend Professional Development Day and be a part of all of the speakers that are typically only for our corporate members and certified MBEs. I think we're doing things like that, but I think just being here together today is another statement in and of itself. So I look forward to supporting each other, continuing to not only bounce ideas off of each other, but not competing, and instead saying, how can you serve a constituency? For example, when I look at Ken and what's happening with the Black Chamber, I want to assist businesses, even though they may not be certifiable. If he has African American businesses that are on a growth spurt that need the assistance that we can provide when it comes to financial services or marketing or those things, we want to make those tools available without certifying the businesses. It's not as much for me about gaining new constituents for our organization.
Okay, great. Thank you, Michelle. Ken?
Yep, and Michelle is absolutely right. I think the failure sometimes as minorities, we're so private and intentional in our privacy, but most importantly, we don't tell our success well. And I think we're now realizing that we have so much success to promote, and partnering with our ethnic media constituency is absolutely critical. We formed a partnership with Real Times Media. We'll have our online newsletter launching for 2016, because why reinvent the wheel? That's one of the largest and oldest African-American owned newspapers in the entire country, which has been around since the 1920s. And so that infrastructure has grown as well, but more importantly, being intentional with our media. And so we've launched with Bank of America our Impact series, where we started a video series pulling together the success stories of those people who get looked over in the community. Sometimes we focus on the big boys, you know. We focus on Mr. James over there, sometimes the guys with all the money, and the Keiths and the Erics over here. But there's an entrepreneur in the community. They're doing good business. They're providing a commodity, service, or product, and they get overlooked all the time. And that's the untapped economy. Those are the people that we need to pull out, give exposure to, and partner with our media sources. And the great thing about this event, we have a chance as we grow Michigan Minority Business Week to use the collective power of both the Asian, the Hispanic, the Native American, MMSDC, and the Black Chamber working together. So this is the beginning to something special, and we appreciate even having you, Chuck Stokes. Absolutely.
I'm glad to be here.
That's right.
If nothing else, it gets me out of the office for a couple hours, right? No, I'm glad to be here. Anybody else want to add to that? Okay. Here's some of the questions that we're getting from the audience members here. One is, how do MBEs develop good pipelines of talent to sustain their growth? Who wants to tackle that?
Well, I'm just gonna, because that's a conversation that has been happening right now. It's called sustainability, right? A lot of our larger HBEs, Hispanic Business Enterprises, they're going right now into a maturity phase where they gotta look into succession planning. So to that end, you gotta think about the top. It's not just your employees, but who's gonna lead the company once you leave as the founder. And actually, that's something that overall, for the MBE world, we're looking very closely. Are you going to, grow your kids to run the company, or are you going to hire professionals to do that?
Absolutely.
In our case, if we want to move our constituents to the next level, you're at 10 million, you want to go to 20, well, there's a different set of skills that you need to do that. So how can we come and work with you so it's not any longer your brother or sister-in-law doing your financials, but rather a professional that can actually take you to that level? Because then you're going to be dealing with another set of customers and different needs. So there's a lot to talk about this, but I'm just going to concentrate into the sustainability and succession planning. It's not only that you're going to give it to your kids, but also if you're going to sell it, then we want to help you so that you don't just sell it for 2 pennies. You work hard for your business. You should sell at the right value, but it's a process to do that. So that's my take there.
Ken?
Yep, and the future of business growth is based on talent placement and acquisition. I mean, flat out. There's no success without succession, and as African-American firms, we struggle in our succession planning. But most importantly, I'm able to acknowledge, organizations like General Motors who have approached the minority chambers of commerce, and we're going to be putting together a fellowship institute scenario where we get a chance to start that pipeline and get these young kids who are coming out of college, who are in high school, having them with internships and practicum experiences, being connected to our infrastructure. So, Chuck, that's an excellent question, because going forward, we have to focus on talent, because at the end of the day, it's survival for for our minority firms.
Next question. Diversity involves cultural differences. I am a Caucasian male. In your experience, what advice do you have to help me navigate these differences? In other words, what are some do's and don'ts you suggest?
I will say, as a Caucasian male, you probably have as much or more ability than anyone in this room to move the needle. And at the end of the day, what I find is often stifling is not knowing what to do. If you approach a minority, a woman, and say, be very candid, I want to help, but I don't want to say the wrong thing, I don't want to offend anyone, I don't want to do the wrong thing, you will find 9 times out of 10 you will have one of the best allies you'd ever expected.
Absolutely.
Because so few people take the time to actually say, I'm willing to help, I'm just not sure what to do. And at the end of the day, I think my biggest advice, A, find that ally, but B, just don't be scared. At the end of the day, you can move the needle simply because you are the majority.
Yes,
you
right.
are typically in power. You don't have the systemic racism that is behind you.
Yeah.
So you have the ability, by simply opening your mouth, taking steps within whatever your sphere of influence is, and it could be small, but starting even within that sphere is critical. We will not move this needle without, in particular, white, Caucasian males over 50 for the most part, because that's who's running this right now.
That's
We
right.
will not move the needle if more people aren't vocal and active in helping us get this done.
Great, great.
In the 80s, there was a government mandate for the auto industry to source a certain percentage of their business to minority suppliers. When the mandate changed, a lot of minority businesses went under. Do you think the auto industry and/or suppliers deal with minority companies fairly? If no, how do you change? If so, how do you do it?
I'm afraid. I mean,
You're afraid.
are we
You're
supposed
afraid?
to answer that?
I'm not.
I'm not.
I'm not.
But I'm just gonna say something. This is what we hear all the time when we go to the conference, from the corporates, right?
I'm trying
They
to be
said, well,
patient, y'all. Go ahead.
we have to, we're making products for a customer. So yes, you're a minority, but in the end, you have to provide us the high level of quality that we deserve from the non-minorities. I'm always a skeptic about that, because as a minority, you are not really set up at that level to provide that. But if you don't give me the opportunity, how am I ever going to get to that point? So to me, and I always hear that, and that's a gap that I feel that is there, that I am willing to get to that level, but you got to work with me. I do appreciate that when you hear supply diversity, it's always supplier diversity and development. And our companies here, the majority of the companies here in Michigan that have the supplier diversity and development programs, I have to say that they are the benchmark nationwide. So we're very privileged here that the companies, the corporations that support all of you, our MBEs, they're very supported when it comes to the development. But please keep that in mind. And just one quick thing here. When you look at the minority world, and especially, I never forget this from the $1 billion roundtable that came here a couple of years ago, they said that in the African American community, the net worth is about $5,000, right, in the community. And then they said, but how are you supposed to get a loan when your net worth is that low? So those are one of the basic challenges that all of us as minority we face. So yes, we do need help, but we have all the intelligence and, more than anything, all the willingness to take it to the next level. So yes, corporations, we do need that opportunity so that way we can go and be who you want us to be.
Very good. Ken?
So just, before I actually get into some economic discussion is, one, let me say Ford, GM, and Chrysler is the bedrock for the middle class of the African American and minority groups in this country. They're the ones that provided the opportunities during the Nixon administration, post-policy that came from that direction. So affirmative action worked to a certain point, but in most cases it's affirmative no action because we only aiming for a piece of the pie. So I think the discussion now is why aim for just a piece of the pie when the whole pie is available, and we should be operating not as minority firms but as good quality companies that can compete with anyone. And I'm proud to say that when I have, we just honored the beginning of this week at our president's reception, John Barfield, who's a $2.3 billion company. He's not looked at as a black company, and although he's centered here in the city of Southfield, so we need to check if he's doing business with the city of Southfield. With that being said, you have companies that are now all across the globe. And so our intentional, this is not an emotional conversation. This is not an advocacy conversation to a certain degree. It's an economic conversation. What does the numbers look like? And if we know by 2030 that the majority of this country will be minority, it's moving in that direction. You cannot stop it. The economic opportunities are here, and we have to recognize that fact. So if you're in a city like the city of Southfield, which is majority minority, some would say super majority minority, then when I come and I look at your economic footprint, then I need to see equality. I need to see a level playing field. And most importantly, I need to see people not only who pay the taxes so that this city can survive, that they're also doing business with the city as well. So it's great that we got great politicians. We love the diversity in the city, but now let's create this equality so we can replicate what GM, Ford, and Chrysler has done for over 40 years now.
That's right.
I think we have time for one more question if I get out on time and follow the rules that Karen Dumas dutifully gave to me. She's looking at me like you look at your watch. And I'm going to couple two questions together and answer however you want. They're not the exact same question, but sort of similar in different ways. One is, given the revitalization in downtown and midtown Detroit, what is your observation regarding the extent of involvement of the businesses you represent in the business contracts and economic activity going on in those areas? And then the other question is, what can all council chambers, B2 events do differently to get the corporates and Tier 1 and Tier 2 to respond and follow up if they show interest? Different questions, but maybe you can tackle one or both, or...
I'm going to take the second one.
Okay.
About that. I think what we can do better is we as a chamber, we serve both. We serve the corporates and the MBEs. And our job should be to have an open line of communication with both of you, so that way we can tell the story. You know, by talking to you, we can promote you in front of the corporates. By listening to the corporates, we can tell you what their needs are so that you can adjust and adapt and be more successful when you have the communication with them. It's not any longer about call introductions. It's our responsibility as a chamber to provide a warm introduction so that way it's valuable to you and to our corporate.
All right.
I'm going to try to tackle both. The first is, unfortunately, I think it's abysmal. When you look at what's really happening with any road work type contracting in the state of Michigan, and trust me, these are the worst roads I've ever driven on in any state I lived in. So there is a huge need
and
for...
Channel 7 would say amen to that.
But when I look at that, one of the reasons MMSDC is now working with MDOT is to say, how do we ensure that if there are DBEs that are within our communities, and why can't we get them certified to assist you so that we can move the needle? Right now, MDOT is at like less than a 1% in meeting their federal goal for the dollars that they receive. So we can help with that. Number two, when I think about corporations and getting them to respond, at the end of the day, imagine standing at those trade shows or matchmakers and you get thousands of business cards. At the end of the day, we have to refine the art of making the connection. And it's more than I handed them my card, they acted like they were impressed, but they did not respond to me the first time I sent them an email. Instead, how do I cleverly maintain contact with them, whether it's sending them an article, I read such and such, we were talking about that, thought it might be important, here's my card, don't forget X, Y, and Z. If I know they're going to be on a panel, I don't have to stay for 4 hours for the event, but if I know I'm trying to make a connection and it's really important that I meet with Bentler and I know Ron's going to be on a panel, I'm there. And I'm constantly, again, this is not an overnight, we're going to have this relationship, but instead it is truly making sure we court, and we do so in a manner that establishes a relationship. The final piece of that is I know we have some corporations that, for all intents and purposes, do not have strong programs, and we are now going back and trying to help our corporate members as well to say it's okay, and you don't have to feel bad and feel that you can't be transparent if you have all of these skeletons in the closet in your company. You know that these areas of your business are simply not open. We need to help you in identifying those that are and in identifying the right way to communicate that message so that your corporation's brand isn't tarnished, but at the same time you don't have people spinning their wheels.
That's right.
Very good. Anybody else want to tackle anything? No, nothing left unfinished on the table. All right, we're going to get out on time. We want to thank Camilla, we want to thank Vaughn, Michelle, and Ken so much for their insight and their answers.
Thank you.
And know that if you didn't get your question answered, you can always try to follow up with them or their representatives at their individual organizations, and I'm sure that they'll respond accordingly. Or maybe we'll get them on Channel 7 all as a group one day, and you can do it that way. We'll do both. All right. Thank you so much, and we appreciate it.
Let's give Chuck Stokes a round of applause. Chuck, you did an amazing job. Thank you so much for being here. Let's give our panelists a round of applause. And I have to throw this in, having been an entrepreneur for the majority of my career, I have to tell you what Michelle said, you have to go back to the basics. I mean, you have to be prepared. You ask for opportunities, you have to be prepared, but a stickler for me is showing up on time. I mean, so that's why I applaud all of you who are here, and I invite you to take advantage of the depth of resources, the commitment, the availability, and the access that's available to you, and best wishes for continued success. To wrap out our program this afternoon is Carl Vaughn, Project Manager, Supplier Diversity Lead for Denso. Is he here?
Hi, I want to thank Chuck Stokes and our distinguished panel for their candor today. It's very interesting. And I'm going to go off script. I had written some stuff down, and I'm going to do a Reggie Humphreys. From a corporate point of view, we are asking our diverse suppliers to be prepared and do your homework. We can all attest to sitting in a booth and have someone walk up and say, Denso, what do you do? Prepare yourself. Do your homework. Study what we do. Study what we make. Study where we make. If you have to go to a manufacturing process, study how we make it.
That's true.
And that's where you find your opportunities.
That's right.
We're a foreign-based company. We have manufacturing locations all over North America, but we still buy a significant majority of our parts and components from overseas. And that's a challenge for us. That's our sticking point. I have another little story that kind of helped us. 2010, I started Supply Diversity. And I was approached by a couple of kids. I think it's a grad school project. And they said, Supply Diversity, we think there's an opportunity to provide an online system solution to provide spend up to your customers. I says, well, that's true. But that's like finding the speck of a light bulb. Every customer is different. I have a problem more fundamentally, internally, of collecting all my spend from our plants. We have 19 manufacturing facilities that report to me. Find a solution for that. Kids went back. Came back 6 months later. We met over the next 6 months to a year, designing an online software package to allow us to collect our spend from our manufacturing plants electronically. That's 2011. It's now 2015, and October 1st, we have gone live with that company, and they're called Diversity Reporting Solutions. That is finding a weak point and providing a solution. So with that said, I want to thank our panel. I want to thank Chuck Stokes. I want to thank Karen Dumas. I want to thank all of our executives who came and spoke with us today. Let the networking begin.